Let's have a look at the 28 competitors who will start race 15 of the championship on the Fuso starting grid. His first career pole, David Reynolds, for the Bottle Racing FPR Ford team alongside Mark Winterbottom. Position number 3, Will Davison, 12th in yesterday's race. He'll be looking for a better result. Steve Owen, best performance in qualifying for him in 2012. Then it's Lowndes and Courtney. Courtney said it felt like a pole position. It was so rewarding. Then Jonathan Webb, Fabian Coulthard, who's having a great year. Jamie Whincup, as he just described, frustrated by not quite getting it right. Michael Patrizzi alongside him. Tony D'Alberto and Jason Bright, both of those fellows were in the wars yesterday afternoon. Garth Tander got up onto the podium yesterday, playing a strategy game. He's alongside James Moffat. 400 race starts in the championship for Stevie Johnson. Jim Beam Racing, well done to Stephen. Tim Slade, then Lee Holdsworth, Shane Van Gisbergen. They're fiddling with setup with those cars at the moment. It's all black in the next positions, 19 and 20 for the Kelly brothers. Taz Douglas and Michael Caruso, they had damage on their cars yesterday as well from 21 and 22. Russell Ingall, the enforcer, one of the most experienced drivers ever in V8 Supercar Championship history, with Dean Fiore, then Carl Reindler, Alex Premer. We nipped some points from Alex yesterday, unfortunately, as a result of a couple of incidents. David Wall didn't have a radio in yesterday's race. That was frustrating. And Jacques Villeneuve, former world champion, at the back of the field.
As we go on board there with James Moffat, so qualified inside the top 10 yesterday, mid-pack today for Team Norton, the youngster. I love this part of our coverage where we get to see on board just before the race. It's just extraordinary to be able to be inside the cockpit at this time. So they're working the heat through, their focus, and it's just that nervous energy waiting to bubble over as soon as we get racing. Now, you mentioned Jacques Villeneuve and the Pepsi Max crew. Has been a great addition to this weekend. Nick Ryan from inside that bunker is our insider, our access all areas man. G'day, Nick, and thanks so much for doing this. And we're not really want to talk strategy with you. I want to know what kind of feel has it been this weekend down there in that bunker with a guy like Jacques hanging around?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's good to be here. Look, amazing feel to have Jacques in the team, Formula One world champion, champ car. Having him part of the team has just been extraordinary. He's fitted in so extremely well. Happy to work and do anything that we want. He's quite methodical about his approach, and have no doubt that he will move further through the field today. He did a good job yesterday until we unfortunately had that failure, but no doubt he'll be on top of things pretty quickly. Yeah,
like you say, F1 World Champ. He's won the IndyCar World Championship and Indy 500. What's he said to you about driving a V8 supercar, just quickly?
He said it's one of the toughest things he's done. He said it's very different to what he's ever done before. So a big challenge, but he is getting on top of it. So he's feeling a little more comfortable today.
All right, mate, we're going to check in with you throughout the course of the race.
Thanks, guys.
He said it was a beast to drive the V8 supercar, Jacques Villeneuve. Well, now it's time to tame that beast. David Reynolds, for the first time in his career, starts from pole position on the final day of the Superjet 400. And it's a pretty even start this time around between the two FPR cars at the front. And Reynolds will hold off this time Winterbottom through turn 1. What about 2? Look at Craig Lowndes, already trying to thread the needle on the inside, and will get a spot off Will Davison.
Lowndes got a ripper jump. He was immediately in business and swallowed Steve Owen straight up. He shot down the inside into position 3 into turn 2. It was a nice job, good start. Oh, there's trouble in the background here. Bits flying. Lee Holdsworth, a lot of damage on the Irwin car. Oh, massive flat slide on cold tyres. Saw him getting back into position on the start grid as well. Courtney, 2 cars in the field on soft tyres. James is one of them. Jonathan Webb is the other. So 26 on hard tyres, 2 cars on softs.
Former teammates Caruso and Holdsworth, that was the drama there together. And down the inside comes Webb on Fabian Coulthard. Great start, Lowndes. Really got a great jump, and down the inside he went into turn 2.
We're riding there with Jamie Whincup. Tangled again with Steve Owen. He had that going yesterday. Check this out from the chopper along the main straightaway past that beautiful pit lane complex. That's turn 1, the little kick. Then it crosses over the Ross Creek and now down to turn 2.
Lowndes has got the eyes on. I watched him off the line here. It was a ripper start. Here comes Tander down the inside of Whincup. He makes it stick. Just ran a diagonal straight to the apex down there and easily by.
That'll hurt Jamie, later, because you don't need to have that problem. You lose a spot now, and he didn't cover it all. This is the damage on the front of Holdsworth's Irwin Tools Falcon.
And with Michael Caruso in the lane as well, that will explain what the other car involved was. I just didn't catch which one of the Fujitsu cars it was, so it's the ex-teammates coming together on lap 1.
And good mates, so that'll be a bit frustrating that they've managed to find each other down there. Sounded like one of those traffic accidents where they all backed up into each other. Webb on soft tyres down the inside on Davison. Easy pass, more grip, got it done nicely.
Yeah, and the really difficult thing for Lee Holdsworth down here in pit lane, they're patching up his front aero. I can see underneath there his brake duct is busted on the left-hand side. Watch for that. That will be a drama later in the race.
So Webb to 5th. 100-mile-an-hour tape on the front of it. They've got more work to do there now. Webb to 4th. And Courtney continues his march. The margin half a second between David Reynolds and Mark Winterbottom, with Lowndes stalking in 3rd. Then it's Webb. There he is. Then Davison. Courtney.
Exit at turn 2. Down to 3.
I feel like I've been run over.
Jonathan Webb, fastest split to the first intermediate on this lap, and Mark Winterbottom's been the fastest man to the second intermediate. So as they're starting to get temperature up in the tyres now and in the brakes, they're coming to terms with what they're racing with. Here's the replay from the chopper of the start. Watch Lowndes on the right-hand side of the road, immediately goes past Steve Owen. And this time, David Reynolds holds his ground into 2.
And I reckon the initial jump from Winterbottom was actually better than Reynolds, but the second crack at it from Reynolds was okay. And managed to hold that lead.
See up the back here, see if we can figure out what's happened here.
And this is on the run up to turn 3 now.
So look for Holdsworth
and Caruso.
Moffat was into the back there, and that's the drama.
They've all backed each other up, but I don't know who did what to who then.
When the concertina effect happens, this is it now. Another shot of the rotation. And Ingle looks like he's actually made contact with Holdsworth at the same time. That's the front of his car all damaged. So Taz Douglas, here we go. There's the bumping duel. We saw a bit of this yesterday. He's going to bat on with it. He's going to bat on with it. So there's a little bit of drama to play out.
Russell had damage at the front and back and thought he'd go for a bit on the side as well.
Guys, Michael Caruso bent steering, very frustrated, just sitting in the car in the garage.
Righto, bent steering for Michael Caruso, whose weekend started out quite promising. Kind of happy with that car, and then it all fell into a heap yesterday, and that's the last thing you need when you're trying to bounce back from a bad one the day before, is another one on turn 1, on lap 1 rather.
Lowndes sidesteps because Webb continues the march on the soft tyre. Fastest man on the racetrack at the moment, Jonathan Webb. In fact, he's just been eclipsed by Courtney, 1:13.8 for James. So 5 laps into this race, and Courtney's starting to find his feet as well.
Look at Lowndes being really aggressive, trying to hunt up on the back of Jonathan Webb. So Lowndes has got soft tyre in front and soft tyre behind. He knows he's going to be under attack any moment from James Courtney. Meanwhile, Reynolds is keeping Winterbottom at bay, and pretty soon they will, as you can see, have the Techno Autosport car number 19 on their hammer.
You can just see the mid-corner speed of Webby's car relative to those that he's racing. Even here, look at him, it's just massive amount of speed across the corner. You have a look down the inside here at 11 on Mark Winterbottom.
So Winterbottom hit the fence there yesterday. Straight down the inside, nice pass.
And Mark knows it, so does the wise thing, keeps the steering angle open, stays wide, lets Webby get on with his race.
Yeah, just down here in with Russell Ingall's car, a lot of front damage on this one. They've pulled these soft tyres off, and I think they put soft tyres on there. No, sorry, they pulled hard tyres off, put soft tyres on. Rear bumper off, doesn't look good.
And he's got a lap down now too. Marco, thanks for the update. You can see Rob Starr, the team manager there for the Super Cheap team, in the background as well, talking to Russell. So Reynolds the leader with a half-second gap over Jonathan Webb. He's going to end up in the lead in the not-too-distant future on these numbers, as you'd expect. Courtney fourth.
And isn't it interesting, because before Webb just got Winterbottom had moved right up onto the back of Dave Reynolds, and he's lost 5 or 6 car lengths just in the last little half-lap exchange. But look at this grip level. This is a great shot from our Supergen chopper.
It's interesting, yesterday the Walkinshaw racing cars, 3 of them went out on the soft tyre at the start, but today it was only James that chose it. I thought Tander and the way they played him yesterday worked pretty well. Here we go down the inside for Webby. Not enough, thought about it.
It's a bit too far back, wasn't he? Dave did a good job too, because he didn't block him. He knew that he was a long way back. And what will have to happen now is Jonathan Webb will have to get a good run out of here at turn 13. Let's watch the drive traction, see if he can get a run. He didn't get a nice flowing exit.
And that's the key word, because what Jonathan Webb needs to do in this white car, the Techno Autosports car that's right behind, is make pace but not hurt those soft tyres too much. He needs them to be functioning well at the back end of this first sequence, around anywhere between lap 20 to 25. He needs those tyres under him. He doesn't need to have them drop off a performance cliff.
This is Courtney down the inside of Winterbottom. Again, Mark leaves him room. The guys know the play here. They know that they're actually trying to achieve the best outcome for themselves. If he blocks and he creates a race for himself at that stage, it slows both cars down.
Now he's closer. He'll have a good look this time down into 11. He got a great run through the chicane. He looked stronger through 7 and 8. Is it enough?
Yep. Nicely done.
And Reynolds, just as Winterbottom did 2 laps earlier, recognising, you can see the car, you can see flashes of colour in the mirror. So he leaves the gap. We've got a new race leader. Now we'll see what he can do with it.
So David Reynolds had the lead there for almost 7 complete laps, but the soft tyre of Jonathan Webb pays dividends. James Courtney is going with him. Webb leads the way here at Townsville.
Mate, 8 laps complete. Those tyres should be on stock now.
It's not a bad playground we've got this weekend here in Townsville. It's a hybrid street circuit and permanent race circuit. And we are now 9 completed laps into this one, and Russell Ingall's been forced back into the garage.
It's got some coolant coming out of it, so it's obviously fractured something around the radiator and throwing water out, so they need to address that without damaging the $100,000 plus engine any further.
So the state of play, Jonathan Webb leads by 1.4 seconds over James Courtney. They're the only two that started incoming. They're the only two that started on soft tyres. David Reynolds, who started on pole, is holding position effectively in third. Now, they've patched up the Irwin Tools entry of Lee Holdsworth and sent it back on its way with more race tape than anything else on it.
Yeah, it's a bit more than a patch-up, Matty. They did go to do that in the first instance, but the actual bracket that holds that front air dam or under tray on was busted, and a car like that around a circuit here will probably only make 25 or 30 kilograms of downforce at the front of the car, which is not a lot. But remember, we showed you that little contact tyre patch there before, tyre contact patch, sorry. That makes the world of difference. So if you don't have that downforce, the car's useless.
Yeah, we're just taking a look. Thanks, Larko. We're taking a look at the rear of Russell Ingall's car.
Yeah, that's part of the water brake system that's been damaged there. So they've got all sorts of problems, been punched up in the front and knocked up in the rear as well. This is earlier. James Courtney on Davey Reynolds. And here it is from above down into turn 2. So Courtney able to do this pretty easily as well. So we've got the boys on soft tyres, as you would imagine, at the top of the field. The focus now, and these comments, as much as they were yesterday, will be to watch precisely what the lap speed of the soft tyres like at this point and how you manage it, how you drive the car straight, not make too much wheel spin, ease it between the gears and try and elongate this performance window of the soft tyre.
And you've got to get to this lap 14. So we're about to come into strategy land for the second stint of this race. And these guys have done a very good job. They'll try to run these as long as they can, but the middle stint yesterday was a crucial one, and the reality of how the strategy plays out will start to get into this in the next 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, Scapey? Because with Courtney Webby out front there, the risk they take, as we talk about a lot, it opens them up. If there's a safety car anywhere from here on, they lose that advantage they've got. But there is a bit of method in their madness, because the other advantage they do have, particularly with Courtney, is they've put enough distance between themselves and their team car. If there is a safety car, they don't have to do that horrible double stacking.
We're on board with Michael Caruso, who's going past Jacques Villeneuve here. It's not hard to find Jacques Villeneuve in the field, isn't it? A beautiful graffiti look with his eyes up. Nick Ryan's our insider down there in the Pepsi Max crew, and we can bring him on the line. Hey, Nick, what's the feeling like inside that bunker after 11 completed laps?
Yeah, guys, it's okay at the moment. We were looking possibly to run a bit of a different strategy today. Yesterday with Jax, we did the starting on the soft tyre. We're going to go to the hard and then back to the soft. But with the way the safety car worked, it didn't actually go in our favour. So today we've gone with the hard tyre. We're prepared, if required, to come in straight away early if we saw a safety car after the first couple of laps. But I think in actual fact, you'll see Jack in now in about lap 14. And then from then he'll do a couple of longer stints and settle in.
Yeah, alongside also, Nick, you've obviously got the Jack Daniels cars in the garage alongside. They'll be in early. We're hearing on the radio they're about to come in too. Rick Kelly?
Yeah, very similar. I think you'll see all 4 of our cars between laps 14 and 15 at this point.
There he is, just coming into pit lane now. So we'll leave you. We'll come back to you as soon as we get a little rundown on what happens in this next range of pit stops.
Great. So at the moment, Stephen Johnson's a busy boy. He's got Tim Slade working on him. These guys battling for 16th and 17th as we also watch Rick Kelly. A busy 400th race for Stevie. John Webb's got 1.6 seconds over Courtney at the moment. So this is the mid-pack battle.
It's pretty willing too. It's pretty lively because they're all joined at the hip. Moffat, Johnson, Slade, Todd Kelly and Carl Reindler. So Russell Ingall's still in the garage, 27 cars out there. As you mentioned, the lead belongs to Jono Webb, now 1.8 seconds.
I think we're going to see Winterbottom in this lap, I'm hearing as well, and 55. So Botlow and Ford Performance Racing bringing their guys in. Here they are.
He's going to have to drive around. You just heard that on the radio. That will probably hurt him in terms of getting into the bunker. They only come in at 40k, but it's still hard to turn around the garage.
All right, mate, you're clear, you're clear, you're clear, you're clear. Go, 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 go.
Both of them, well serviced. Well done.
They've had 1 or 2 glitches with the Bottle car, so they'll all be really pleased with that. In pit stop land I'm talking about. So they resume their battle. And lights illuminated in behind the windscreen of the car, soft tyre. And cold soft tyres. So yeah, they've just had a little security wiggle to find out, well, what's it feel like. And when those tyres are cold, it feels pretty gruesome for a lap or 2, Larko.
Oh, boys, just remember, Davey Reynolds is literally a customer of FPR, Ford Performance Racing. I was standing with Rod Nash, the team owner, as that pit stop happened. That epitomised customer service, didn't it?
It certainly did.
Sound like you're selling something there, Larko.
You should have left a tip behind.
James Small just said to Dave Reynolds on the radio and said, don't hurt these tyres, but keep Winterbottom behind.
Yeah, I love those conflicting messages that the engineers send in. Here we go, Craig Lowndes followed by Will Davison.
Do you see the athlete with the Olympics coming up? Do you see Larko just run across there? It's fast. I've seen him move all weekend.
This is a critical stop. We'll see who can get out on top here between these two.
All wheels are done. Floating on the fuel.
It's going to be
sorry, champ.
Oh, there you go.
Cost him a spot.
He won't be happy.
Push on. Yeah, don't worry about that. Black Joyce takes the pits on the pit lane entry. We'll get him in the long run.
So lights illuminated, soft tyres on. There they are. David, Mark, Will and Craig. Line astern. Jonathan Webb still the race leader.
And did you hear Jeremy? Jeremy was having a little crack then, because when you come in as the second car, the radar can only get the front car. So you can take some liberties when you come in behind and make a big gap up. And as that gap unfolded with the pit stop at the end, there was a change of position, and Jeremy basically said to Lounsey, don't worry, we'll get him back.
Yeah, and Craig's response was something along the lines of, gosh, that's a bother. Or words to that effect.
Yeah, I thought it sounded like that. Yeah.
Thanks for the orange light. Got a nice lead in here. Got one of the Kelly boys just sweeping out of the way. Take advantage of it. We've got four of the best.
Four of the best and a drink of juice.
Stephen Johnson, Carl Reindler, Taz Douglas in as well. Rick Kelly's done the fastest lap of the race.
See ya.
Cold side, mate. Cold side. You have a clear exit. You have a clear exit. Let's have some fun.
Lowndes is stalking Davison there down into turn 2. Very, very close. He was mightily annoyed yesterday that he had to sit and wait and lose all that time. Now, Winterbottom's just achieved a new lap record out there as we speak. 1 minute 13.406. 14th position at the moment in his bid to try and claw back some ground.
He was 0.2 of a second faster than Dave Reynolds. Reynolds did a 13.6, Winterbottom a 13.4. And Wincup's made ground in all that, Neil. In terms of the spot that he was in 10th position effectively before the stop. And I think that compared to Lowndes and Davison, he's actually made some ground.
Just reflecting on that Jamie Whincup pit stop there, I mean, that chat in the pit lane at his first class. Boys, you know, Jamie's heart rate probably up around, I don't know, 160 at that point in time. And to have that calming influence, it's one of the guys in the pit, like Mark Dutton, his engineer, doesn't talk to him during that stop. It actually goes, I think it's Anthony Atkins that does it. It's another guy that talks to them, calms them, gets them in the zone. I mean, it's first class. It doesn't happen elsewhere on the pit lane, I've got to say.
Steve Owens pitted as well, guys, in the VIP Ford Falcon. There's the heart rate there for Will. Actually, heart rate's okay, but his voice is not. I had a bit of a chat with him earlier in the day, and he's gasping and grasping and gurgling, and he's still driving pretty well at the moment, isn't he? It was a tough day for him yesterday. Come away also a victim of stacking. Here's a problem in the pit lane for Carl Reindler.
Doesn't look like the fuel is engaged properly. Didn't look like the head of...
No, it didn't look like it was dumping fuel correctly, did it? So he ended up 12th, Will. and he also had to sit in the pit lane and wait for a long time. So he ended up dropping out of second in the championship, which wound him up a bit last night too. Here's Fabian Coulthard, Garth Tander. They come in from third and fourth. Fabian was the lead guy in the queue. We'll see how these two teams match off.
Good run yesterday for the Lockwood entry. Finished inside the top 5.
Jumped in. So Tander grabs a position over Fabian Coulthard. You can hear Chris Clark in the background for Fabian, and it was Alistair McVeigh for Garth Tander. Patrizzi, Van Gisbergen and Fiore came in too at that same moment.
Tander would be wrapped with that. Much easier to do the pass in the pit lane than it is out there, so very, very good job.
Not as many calories involved for the driver.
No, exactly. Coulthard, I thought he was man of the match yesterday. It was a great drive to get the 4th position, and he won't be very happy with having now, probably in terms of car speed, a better package than Garth. He just knocked the edge of that mirror off just then on that left-hand wall. That was Whincup. Oh, sorry, Lowndes.
Lowndes, he's climbing all over the back of Will Davison here. I reckon Will's heart rate's about to go up.
He said he was, not only did it hurt him yesterday with the pit lane stacking for Davison, but he said it just wasn't really at one with the car. You have those days where you just couldn't get the thing working. But he was much happier with it after qualifying this morning, clearly smartened it up and starting from a good, strong position. He didn't think the lap would be good enough, funnily enough, to be where he was on the grid, but he thought that he was in for a better afternoon based on the improvements. And as I said a little bit earlier, Lowndes is just chewing raw meat at the moment because he's just filthy with what happened yesterday, so he's got the mindset.
Meanwhile, Jonathan Webb out in front. Has done 18 completed laps on softs. He's got a 2.6 second lead. Welcome back. We have a different leader now. James Courtney is at the head of the field because Jonathan Webb, who you can see there in the white Techno Autosports car, just behind Craig Lowndes, has come in through pit lane and is now back out there. He's ditched the soft tyres. He's onto the hards for the mid-section of this race, so therefore will finish with a burst of soft rubber.
They took on a lot of fuel then in Webb's car, which is put him back in the queue. I'm assuming that they actually topped it up but didn't time it. that'll have the effect a little bit later that he may not have to wait so long to get back to the fuel load he needs to get to the end of the race. So we'll see how that one plays out.
As this battle continues pretty much from the word go between David Reynolds and Mark Winterbottom. Remember, they've both been through and put the softs on, now done 7 or 8 laps, and Rick Kelly and Fabian Coulthard are going to get close.
See, that there, Coulthard was being cheeky and running him out towards the point of the fence. So there's plenty of room there. You don't need to do that. In the end, you've just put yourself out. Lots of room, and you've got to give the guy room to race. That's an incident that's a totally avoidable one. Exactly. They're Rick's words, and he's obviously upset about no room to race, and they have big implications because we said yesterday that Coulthard was the man of the match. His car is very good today, and there's no doubt that he would have featured in the results later, but those little silly mistakes, they, as I said, are very, very much avoidable.
Scafey, there's just a new confidence in Tol HRT, these boys down here. Mike Henry's just got them steady at the moment. They're just trying to keep James Courtney out for as long as they can. He said, although, as I speak, the crew are rolling out, the tyres are rolling out. This could be James Courtney coming in any minute. They're trying to get as long as they could out of those soft tyres, and they're quite happy with his progress.
Yeah, I reckon they're gone at the moment. He's just done a 16.5. He's getting tangled up with Taz Douglas, and here's the problem that Mark spoke about before, the damage to the left rear corner of Fabian's car. Now, Courtney can't afford to have that sort of dying lap speed, so those tyres have fallen off the edge.
Whoa. That's oil coming out of the left-hand rear of the Lockwood Commodore because of the contact that was made.
And they've got a car in the pits there up in the top left-hand corner of the screen. They're from the same bunker. So that actually left him out there.
I want to be careful with that now. I mean, you can see that flame coming from there, and they've basically got an oil seal at the end of the live diff housing, and that's where the drama will be coming from. You can see it squirming its way under brakes. Yes, you're going to have to be in now.
It's a shame because the crisscross that Fabian was pulling there was
the right move.
It could have actually got down the inside pretty easy. There was a ton of space.
Yeah, well, I won't repeat any of that, but you can see the impact on Coulthard's car. You're exactly right, Scafey. It's just unnecessary. And here's Kelly's front tyre. Look at that. Look at the damage to the rim and the rip in the tyre just from that little bit of contact. I mean, totally unnecessary and extremely dangerous.
Now, Courtney's hung on long. He's in now, but that last lap or so has really hurt. This is actually going to slide him down the order. He'll pay a little penalty here.
And what they should have done is short-filmed him and put him out in front of Webb, which would have put him in behind the Winterbottom bunch and in front of Davison and Lowndes. So, and the reason we know it's full, you can see it coming back up the return vent there. So we know that they've filled that car. Yeah, so his only card now, because of the last lap speed, is that there's Tander going by, but he's got to have the shortest last stint to get him back in the picture. He's lost a lot of ground relative to those that he was racing. So Dave Reynolds leads from Winterbottom, Davison, Lowndes, Whincup, Webb, Tander, Courtney there in 8th, D'Alberto 9th, and Steve Owen is the top 10. You mentioned Coulthard then. He's in the pit with the problem with that left rear hub in the Lockwood car, and that's, I imagine, going to be staying there for quite some time. Just said over the radio, it's the left-hand rear hub seal, so that's where the oil was coming from in the fire that we saw as the car was coming back in. Well, he's just... There's the oil, diff oil everywhere, so that'll be there for a long time, probably staying there, I imagine.
So watch this. This is way after the contact, a lap after, and then boom, flashpoint. Yeah, so what's happening there is that Mark described before, the oil's getting around whatever's probably past the O-ring down there on the camber wedge somewhere. There's a damage or a fracture. It's spitting oil out, and because the rear brake is so hot, it just ignites the oil and boom. Just looking at the numbers, sorry, as we continue that James Courtney and Jonathan Webb threat. I mean, it's only 3 laps the difference that Courtney stayed out there compared to Webb, and we talked about the performance cliff that you fall off on those soft tyres. Well, James reached it rapidly, didn't he? Just 3 laps later. Shows you how much of a fine line you've got to tread on those soft tyres.
Oh, Matty, huge disappointment down here in Brad Jones Racing. I'm just near Brad. I'll try and get through, but Brad, that's a very disappointing situation with Fabian.
Yeah, it is. I thought we had a really fast car. The Lockwood car's really getting along pretty well today, and you know, he was 5 or 6 laps better off than Rick Kelly, and you know, he had a lot more speed than him. I really don't know how come they came together. It's just crazy at this point of the race.
All right, mate, all the best.
Thanks.
Totally agree with Brad there. It is crazy at this time of the race, and there's a lot of dissension because Fabian was saying stuff on the radio about Rick. Rick was obviously saying things about Fabian over the radio, so there'll be a bit of drama there later on to play out, I'm sure.
No kidding. So Ford Performance Racing lead the way. David Reynolds, our pole sitter, is back in front of Mark Winterbottom and Will Davison here in Townsville.
Currently P5, 46 to go. Eyes forward.
There's your mega wall view of what's happening at this stage of the Superagent Townsville 400. Check out curb cam for a second on the top right and look up, because it's all of a sudden changed a little bit in terms of the weather. I'm not saying it's going to rain, folks, but there's more cloud around now than there was at the start of the race, probably at any time of the day. David Reynolds is our race leader by half a second from this man who you're riding with, Mark Winterbottom.
That's tightening up a little. And that other battle that we saw in the top left of screen, the mega wall before, involved Jason Bright and James Moffat. They're 15th and 16th at the moment, but this is getting a bit interesting here. The other thing, chaps, that's just worth considering, Largo did his track facts at the beginning of it to discuss the importance of the windows, looking after the tyres and how far you can get on the first load of fuel. We've been saying you need to get somewhere between 20 and 25 laps out of your soft tyres. Worth considering that for Jonathan Webb, 20 laps from the start of the race on a soft tyre. For James Courtney, 23 laps, but they died at the back end of that. His engineer, Scott Sinclair, James was lamenting the fact that he reckoned they hung on too long, and Scott was counselling, no, we got a fuel saving out of that. It'll come back to us because we've got a fuel saving that will yield itself in the next stop. I'm just not 100% sure on that, because those last couple of laps, lap and a half for James, really plummeted. So we'll wait and see. But no relief from the Petters STP safety car at the moment. No one's getting a break on their soft tyres to extend this middle window. Typically when you say that, I might mention, something always unfolds.
Exactly.
But this is the stint that Mark Larkham and everybody up and down the paddock were talking about before. They want to try and stretch as much as they can. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard work to get the softs to do the last stint in the race.
Now, you mentioned counselling. I reckon there's a fair bit going on between Bradley Jones Racing and in the Kelly Racing bunker. Remember, Nick Ryan's down there for us, our access all areas man. What can you brief us on him, Nick, in terms of Rick Kelly's thoughts with that contact with Fabian Coulthard?
Yeah, naturally he's very frustrated. We were just talking with him then, and you know, I heard Brad's comments at the same time saying it's completely unnecessary, which is what it was. When he came through the corner, there was plenty of room for Fabian to move over, and didn't do that to Rick. Just squeezed him straight into the fence, and well, was heading for the fence and came over and hit Fabian, and unfortunately it's damaged both our cars. Now, thankfully for Rick, it was only the wheel and the tyre, so he came in, got that changed, and from here, what's actually going to happen, if there's any safety cars, we might try and leave Rick out for a bit longer, just so we can try and get track position back.
All right, mate, thank you. So Rick is back out there, and he's in 23rd. Good on you, Nick. Thanks. We'll check in again soon. The four-car Kelly Racing organisation in full flight in more ways than one. This weekend, there's Lee Holdsworth with the race tape all over him. His lap record has been taken away by Mark Winterbottom earlier in the race. 1:13.406 is the new lap record.
Todd, things just skating on the rear brake into turn 2. He's got Jason Bright hustling at the moment. 14th and 15th.
And guys, we said yesterday that the game changer was the mistake that Winterbottom made. He hit the fence and Whincup was able to pounce, went on to win the race. I think that pit stop that we saw Davison and Lowndes will have a big bearing on how this is rolled out, because I think Lowndes has got better pace than Davison, but he's been held behind the whole way. The other thing that we've got to consider at the moment is Dave Reynolds is a very, very big chance, and this is Tander down the inside of Webb at turn 2. Dave Reynolds, this is the day that he gets his first pole position, but he's actually got a chance today to win this race. This is career-changing.
Which would be great, and could be our 5th race winner of the championship season. Jason Bright makes that move on Todd Kelly now. Moves him up to 14th.
David Reynolds became our 6th different pole sitter for 2012, and as we touched on before, an amazing stat. The 50th man in the history of Australian Touring Car Championships to have pole position over 50-odd years. Back soon.
Copy that. Mate, working on it. Other option is catch and pass. The cars in front, half a second a lap, watch for lap traffic. Blue, 1 please.
That's the view. Looking from overhead, the Reed Park Race Circuit Complex out to Magnetic Island as we welcome you back. The Superage Townsville 400, race 15 of the V8 Supercars Championship. And there is a great battle going on at the moment, a whole bunch of places around this racetrack. Will Davis and Craig Lowndes, third and fourth. Queensland Premier in the foreground, in the bunker. We already heard earlier in the day when he was speaking with Mark Beretta as Paul Morris is giving the thumbs up there to Steve Owen, who the Premier is barracking for today, and it's in the team Vodafone corner. James Courtney's under pressure at the moment as well. He's in 10th and he's in a big battle with Michael Patrizzi. We were looking at that just a moment ago. Here's Tony D'Alberto as well in the high flex entry. He's doing a job inside the 10. Patrizzi and Courtney cycle and train together. Right now they've got to learn to live together side by side in the spot where Fabian Coulthard and Rick Kelly couldn't get through there side by side.
This is maximum attack from Michael Patrizzi. And Shane Van Gisbergen's tucked in behind them as well. So lights on for car 91. Position 11, Brett's.
Oh, Matty, Russell Ingall, disappointing day, Russell. It's been rough and tumble out there and you were in the middle of it.
Yeah, mate, I usually can crack a smile when you're around, mate, but it's very, very hard at the minute. We've had a couple of shockers with Darwin. We thought our bad luck was over and had a real good run on the Saturday's race, but, mate, we've got one very bent-up car here and really disappointing, you know. We had a real good tyre strategy. We had 2 new sets of tyres to run in today's race. We just wanted to get through the first lap clean, and lo and behold, some baboon comes in from behind and just pushes me into Lee. I think I took Lee out as well, so I apologise to Lee for that, but I've got such a big shunt up the back. It actually lifted the rear wheels up off the ground. It was that hard. So, like I said, just some monkey ran out of talent and my car's stuck here in the pits.
Right, Russell, the good news is we go into the Coates Hire race at Queensland Raceway, almost your second home.
Oh, mate, if I don't go any good there, I never will. So you're right, I've done thousands of laps around Queensland Raceway. Looking forward to getting back up there, and good to have a couple of events in Queensland as well. So, mate, we're going to go there, and I've just about had enough of all this, so it's time to get a bit nasty, I think.
We look forward to that, Russell. All the best, mate.
Thanks, buddy.
Big puff of smoke from Tony D'Alberto on the exit of turn 6 there, and the enforcer's right. It's the first of 3 events in Queensland.
Lowndes is way back. Lowndes is back behind Whincup now, so he's lost a position, so he must have gone off.
There's something...
Is Jeremy obviously upset with whatever's gone on?
And Courtney's struggling with a bent steering arm as well. So
I reckon he might have had a go at trying to pass Davison because he was getting frustrated. We heard him on the radio.
Yeah, he was really battling, and Jamie was actually ranging up closer to the back of both those two.
Still a long way to go. Car is cool down, have another go. Right, cool. No problem, just give me back to 20 seconds.
Just give me back the 20 seconds, he said. Yeah. So I'm sure there will be something there because he was right behind Davison for a long time. And remember they had that big moment together. Oh, big slide in the background. But we had that big moment at the hairpin in Tasmania, which has had a big implication for the championship for Craig. He's already angry and wound up about that. And then in this race, being balked by him, there's clearly been a pretty frustrating segment of this race for Craig Lowndes.
Meantime, it's still half a second between David Reynolds and Mark Winterbottom at the moment.
Here we go. This will explain it.
Oh, no, something's... I don't know whether he's turned it off or he's hit the pit limiter or what's happened.
He's just gotten down the inside, then it's stopped, hasn't it?
It's just stopped. It's pulled up. Yeah, it's hit the pit limiter.
Yeah,
it's hit the pit limiter.
You can see the lights flashing in the boot lid of the car means that he must have grabbed the pit lane speed limiter, and it's limited itself to 40 k's.
Oh.
Jamie did everything he could not to drill the back of it.
So I don't know how that...
Where is it on their wheel?
Yeah, but you've actually got to press the button. So
is it?
Yeah, it's up in fingerland. But maybe he was having one of those moments.
I think he was actually arriving in turn 11 with 2 turning and 2 burning, and he's had to use his thumbs to save himself.
Yeah, well picked up, boys. Just confirming with Jeremy Moore, his engineer, he did bump the pit limiter on, and quite rightly, best if you restrict that to the pit lane.
Well, thank you, Larko.
You don't think turn 11's a good spot? So Carl Reindler slides past Todd Kelly there. So we're looking at position 16, 17 and 18 belongs to Dean Fiore.
And in that little sequence that we observed earlier of Patrizzi putting a move on Courtney where there was a little bump and grind there, ultimately that advantaged Shane Van Gisbergen. That gave him enough of a run that he's just grabbed Tony D'Alberto as well. So he's now gone to 9th in the SP Tools entry. So he's just quietly sneaking along here. They've got some development bits. They had a little regroup after Darwin. They weren't happy, and Lee in particular was looking forward to putting that to good effect. It looks like Shane Van Gisbergen is at the moment. He's 28 seconds off the lead of the race.
And Van Gisbergen's tyres are 3 laps fresher than D'Alberto's. He's getting more gain out of that one. Now Dean Fiore's lining up car 7, the Jack Daniels entry. As we look down from the Supergen chopper, and we'll see position taken. Not without a bit of a struggle, but he got it done. So, halfway done, and David Reynolds has the race lead. The big question will be later this afternoon, can he get his first ever race victory?
That's the way, right on the next, And you're fired and swallow from the tyres, and Robert swallow.
This is well and truly on now. Look at this. David Reynolds being hunted by Mark Winterbottom, who's got Will Davison on his tail. FPR 1, 2, 3. Then Jamie Whincup behind him. Then Craig Lowndes, who's had that little error just a couple of laps ago and is now charging back as Whincup gets on the inside of Davison and sticks it.
And Lowndes needs to get a good exit too, because this will put him in position to dive down the inside.
Very interesting phase of the race now. You see where they're at with their tyre life. Will's going to argue the point when they get down to turn 2. This will be very, very tight. Jamie sidesteps him. Watch for Craig. He was able to climb the curb.
Jamie should have covered then. I mean, he basically went to all the effort to make the pass and then let him back down the inside. Lowndes' speed in the last couple of laps since that mistake has been fantastic, because he's come back at them to get onto the back of this trail of 5 cars. This is going to be very interesting.
And this takes a bit of the pressure off the 2 leaders at the moment while these guys battle for 3rd. And remember that the number 1 car, Whincup, stopped on lap 15. Lowndes on 14. The 2 blokes at the front on 13. So Whincup, by being a couple of laps later, watch Lowndes, roughly about 5 litres of fuel, or about 1.5 seconds in time. So To get Jamie back up to full in their pit stop means that if they process it properly and it all works out, he'll come right out near the lead of this race. But there's so many variables going on out there on the racetrack at the moment.
Yeah, Will Davison just said back to the pit, I've got no rear tyres, mate. So he's in trouble. So he's going to lose some ground versus Winterbottom and Reynolds.
Guys, interesting, Jamie Whincup is going to be investigated after the race for dropping the car on that last stop with the wheels still spinning.
Yeah, glimpsed that earlier. Yeah. They actually did issue a rule about that. That'll be something that they'll all get into a debate about later.
So, sorry, the rule is that when the car is in the air, that you can't have the wheel moving. So you can't put it in gear. And you know, we've seen over the years now, with guys changing wheels, it's quite dangerous for the wheel to be spinning. So the rule was changed to make sure that the wheel was stationary. So that'll be examined after the event.
This is heating up, boys.
It certainly is, and a whack, and a whack.
So expect Winterbottom in. So Whincup just rattling on the bumper. Here we go. 5 in, 888 in. And Lowndes makes big ground. He throws the thing at the control line, locks it up. He knows it's a throwaway set of tyres. That's a gain.
And remember, that's what Davison did to Lowndes. So Lowndes has done it to Will's teammate.
Reynolds, Whincup and Davison stay out. Winterbottom and Lowndes come in. A battle between the teams.
Long way to go in the last stint, isn't it?
Yeah, big time.
And how's the
fuel and tyres?
How's the heavy breathing of these guys?
You've been saying it all weekend, Matt, how compact the circuit is, how tough it is. It's such a busy circuit, so by the time you get in like that, they're a little breather.
Oh, that is as close as you can have two cars. There's a cigarette paper in that.
And I'll tell you the other big ticket item there, Lowndes has just put brand new green tyres on. Winterbottom put new rears on and used fronts. Davey Reynolds got 4 used tyres here. Both the Vodafone cars, green new tyres.
Okay, stand by for the next bit of process here, because here we go. Davey's in. It's like, look at this, there's actually contact before they get into the lane proper.
Everybody's all clear on that one, Jeremy.
So Whincup should clear these guys.
Yeah, and remember, remember that, look at the amount of time and ground that Jamie's made up here. He just about drills the thing. Ditto for Will, and he's got a shorter time stationary to get it to full. But he made a lot of ground, Whincup, on that last lap while we were watching the others.
He did, and the new tyre scenario of going straight out and using the tyres up will be the determining factor in where they all rejoin. There's a crossover here. Dave Reynolds.
Dave Reynolds is the big loser in that.
Well, this will be close between the Vodafone blokes as well. One's at speed, one's not. Where's Lowndes going to drop in here? He'll have a big lunge down into 2. It's not enough. How's that for a sequence of pressure between all the key players?
So Whincup gets the effective race lead. Lowndes is going to go with him. Remember, they've got nice, fresh green tyres, these two cars. Different scenario for Mark Winterbottom, who's now effectively in 3rd. Correction, Will Davison, and then Winterbottom's behind him. And David Reynolds, who is leading this pack, therefore leading the race. There he is now.
Gone to 5th. So Reynolds has led the race and gone to 5th.
And his last flying lap must have hurt. He mustn't have had the pace in the tyres, but of course they all monstered him on pit in as well. That little gain that you can get being masked from the radar.
And how was the 110% call on Craig leaving? 110%, mate, you got heaps of room. He had a millimetre.
Yeah, that was tight, wasn't it? Mark Scape's remark a moment ago, though, is the one that we focus on next, and that's the stint that they've got to do to the end here, because they're going to have to manage tyres and fuel carefully.
Let's have a look at Whincup's stop. This is what will be investigated. Have a look at the rear wheel. There you go. That wheel is having a little move. before it's dropped on the ground. So there'll be something to play out there. Now, that might only be a team penalty rather than a penalty applied to Jamie within the race. It's hard to know. Sometimes difficult to pick that up.
And you can be sure that their opponents will be all over it and arguing, pressing the point home very aggressively tonight.
So, fuel strategy. They're all conserving fuel immediately. The guys that had green tyres have got the gain. These two cars had green tyres. They've jumped the FPR guys for the initial speed. But you have to be able to look after the tyres. This is the longest run we've seen. We saw in the first segment of the race, James Courtney did 23 laps and they were destroyed. So, very interesting scenario.
And doesn't that make that critical then, Scafie, that they managed to jump the FPR guys, because now they don't have to fight that war. They don't have to chew up those tyres in this initial part of the race unless they want to do it against each other. So they don't have to chew up the tyres early to get the ground. It was handed to them.
That's right. It was a gift. It was a gift. The other thing I just saw was on the way out of turn 13, there was smoke coming out of Whincup's car.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
I don't know why that'd be.
Looked like diff housing style smoke, a little bit like that one you had yesterday.
Yeah, so Tander and Bright at the head of the queue at the moment, yet to stop. Big water leak for Dean Fiore here as they've topped up the water brakes.
Alex Premer and David Wall also in pit lane.
There's GT, so Tander in.
So you'll be right to go.
So, has it got a problem on the front left-hand corner?
It looks like, isn't it? Yeah.
Dodgy.
It might have just had a rub on something.
Let's go for our bits of the tyres. You guys right on.
Might have just been the colour somehow. It looks strange, didn't it?
It has rubbed something.
Yeah.
No dramas.
Look for how...
Fuel up the vent line.
There you go. Good job, mate. Good job.
So he'll come out behind Reynolds in 8th position from our calculations. There's Reynolds there now. Actually might be even further back than that.
Well, he started 13th, so he's made a bit of a gain. The question is how much. This is a fascinating stage of this race. Don't go anywhere. The V8 Supercars in Townsville. So after 48 laps of this event, the field has now been cleansed in terms of pit stops, and Jamie Whincup has the true lead of this race over Craig Lowndes and Will Davison. Let's take you all the way back to the start and update you on what's been happening so far. So we started with David Reynolds on pole position. His teammate Mark Winterbottom actually got a really good jump, but this time, as opposed to yesterday, Reynolds held on down to turn 2 and took the lead. Great start from Craig Lowndes, who had a good dive on the inside, but this was on lap 1. Lee Holdsworth, Michael Caruso, Russell Ingall was also involved in that. Russell let us know that somebody gave him a massive shove from behind, and that's probably a culprit, judging by the enforcer's actions there. So Russell is out of this race. Jonathan Webb started on soft tyres, so too did James Courtney, the only 2 in the field. And they made the most of it early, picking their way through. This is being investigated. Wheels spinning as car number 1 drops. What will the ramifications of that be? A bizarre incident here involving Fabian Coulthard and Rick Kelly, and that triggered off a little bit of a fire in car 14, and that's over and out for those guys as well. So there's a bit of fury and fire going on between BJR and Kelly Racing. Will Davison here leading as Craig Lowndes behind him just appears to stop down there in turn 11. Watch this on board from Jamie Whincup. All of a sudden, hey, hang on, you're not meant to be there. Hit the pit limiter at the wrong time. And talking of pit lane, that was 110% green to go call for Craig Lowndes. Gee, they work their figures tight, don't they, down at Team Vodafone? Don't they? By the way, Campbell Newman, the Queensland Premier, who's been here all day, and as you said, has declared his hand early on this one. He's going for Team Vodafone. He's been active on Twitter today, taking photos, sending out photos of Lowndes stops. Yeah, so if you want to join that conversation, we've had so much going on in this race, we haven't had a chance, but use the hashtag V8SC. That was Jacques Villeneuve, who is a lap down in 24th.
And another Twitter question now, shouldn't J-Dub, as in Jamie Whincup, be the one penalised, not the team, given he's the one that's in control of the throttle pedal? And that's a very good point. It can be applied either way, and it may be points at the end of this race, so we'll have to have the stewards look at that, and we'll see what happens afterwards.
Looking at the wheel work here of Jacques Villeneuve.
More than 160 Grand Prix starts. 3 years with Williams, 5 years with BAR, some starts with Renault and Sauber in Formula 1, runner-up at Le Mans, Indy 500 champion, IndyCar champion. It's not a bad CV, is it? All right, isn't it? It's going all right.
V8 supercar driver.
Seriously, one of the most accomplished drivers we've ever seen, and certainly very good to have him in these cars.
Yeah, guys, I was just having a chat to Damien White, the sporting and technical director for V8 Supercars, to get some read on this possible penalty for Jamie Whincup. Now, they've actually not applied that before, where the wheels have been spinning during a pit stop when the car's been let down, so they won't conjecture over it. However, what he did say, I think you guys saying maybe a team penalty. They certainly saw it as a driver error. Hey, the other quick thing I want to show you, I don't know if we can see in here, Rich, this is going to be about how these guys manage their tyres at the end. Remember I showed you how Jamie Whincup does it? Well, here's the tyres that came off Jamie Whincup's first stint, and here's Craig Lowndes'. And if you have a look, they're not actually worn out, but they are in really, really good shape. I've had a look at plenty along the pit lane. These guys are really good. The bad news for Jamie, the next best set on pit lane is the other bloke, which is the other red car right behind him.
Thanks for the update, Larko. Been working some numbers here as well. David Reynolds, Jamie Whincup, Will Davison, they came in on lap 43. They've got to do 29 laps to the end of the race. We're assuming no Petters STP safety car intervention. For Lowndes and Winterbottom, they came in on lap 42. They must do 30 laps to the end of the race. That is going to be a task. Fuel's probably okay. Tyres, I'm just not totally convinced. But Tander, who's 6th at the moment, came in on lap 46. He's only got to do 26 laps. Just keep a bit of an eye on Tander. Don't write him out of the equation at the moment, because though he doesn't have the absolute pace at the moment, he might have the rubber at the end of the day for the argument for the big arm wrestle that could come in the last handful of laps of this race.
Well, that's good, mate. It puts the full stop on the question that we're asking as he was exiting pit lane after his stop. Remember, he started in 13th, so now in 6th. That is a definite net gain for Garth Tander. He'll be one to watch in the last 20 laps of this race.
And he's got the shortest, got the narrowest window to operate in. And go back to Mark Scaife said not very long ago that when you looked at those drivers at the top of the race like Jonathan Webb and James Courtney, they got nothing like full stints out of their tyres. We're going to stay on board here. Let's just sit back, soak it up and enjoy 2.86 Ks of Townsville.
Great driving, mate. Race update. 19 to go. Your car 51. Eyes forward. Doing a great job.
Little spray of dirt there out of turn 6. It's very accurate. The thing that you've really got to notice and just watch the wheel position for Davison. He was driving the car. There was not an apex that he wasn't millimetre perfect on that lap. Very, very good.
It's good to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just soaked all that up. You did a practice session here last year, didn't you? And I asked you as soon as you got out, and you went, "There's a really busy joint." You could see it when we were just on board then. It's wild.
And also you get to see the characteristics of this track, the camber, the manholes, patchwork quilt down here at turn 2, the different surfaces, the white lines, the lot.
The other thing that was evident then at the braking area into turn 2 when we're on board with Frosty, 260 Ks down the straight down to turn 2, it's pretty slow down there. Very little throttle blipping on the way down through the gearbox, and the reason he's doing that, you hear about the teams urging the drivers to conserve fuel. They can do it by changing the mixture settings on the steering wheel, but they can help their own cause when they're making those little blips on the gear shift on the way down through the box, trying to synchronise engine speed as they bring in the new lower gear. They don't need to give it a great big stab of throttle and pump fuel through for no good reason. So that's the reason why there's not a lot of that going on.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Neil, how busy it is around here. I was trying to get a read from some of the drivers in the chat this morning where they rank this circuit in terms of physical toughness, and the only one they can think of that sort of remotely is tough is the IndyCar race, or sorry, the Gold Coast race. Temperature, it's very, very similar, but there's nothing from the driver's seat that is more demanding in terms of the inability to just stop and rest your wrists, rest your fingers, have a breather. You just don't get that here.
And I reckon about now, you're starting to get that feeling of, I did a couple of 100 Ks yesterday, and I'm doing a few today. How are you feeling? Oh, I'm great, you know. And your nose grows as you say it. No one ever lets on that they're hurting, but in the back end of a street race, when you've got so much fluid loss and it's very difficult to replace the fluid on the run, and there's no substitute for being in the cars. You can do a lot of training and it certainly helps, but they'll be feeling it. There's Dick Johnson in the DJR camp for Jim Beam Racing. As they lose all the fluid out of their body and the seat belts are wet, the driver's suit's wet, the belts expand, you're slopping around in the seat, you're pulling the belts all the time. Here comes Alex Premer down the inside of Dean Fiore. Makes that one stick. Nice job.
It's for 17th spot. We just saw Steve Johnson, who was in 14th. His 400th start for Steve. Started in 1994. Great accomplishment. Alex Premer actually going pretty well. His race pace, that's Richard Holway talking to him there, his race pace is quite good. Oh, little brake block there for Moffat, who runs through. He's going to make sure he doesn't run into David Wall when you rejoin.
He was so close to the back of David then, very difficult to actually see that apex, and he just locked the inside front tyre briefly, and it was enough to cart him wide onto the dirty line. And he chose to release the brake and just transit the grass. It's the easier option, protects the tyre a little bit.
So more than 50 laps done, more than an hour and 10 minutes worth of racing completed. And at the front of the field, it's Whincup and Lowndes leading the way. Then it's FPR behind them. Davison, Winterbottom, Reynolds, Gartander. He's doing a good job in 6th. And his lap time last time around, a 1:14.2, so that's up there with the fastest out there.
Shane Van Gisbergen also 14.25, so he's actually doing the same pace as the leaders. Steve Owen has been very strong all weekend. He's also done a 14.29. So the guys at the back of the top 10 there are travelling at the same speed as the front guys.
Jason Bright's also showing some pretty good pace as well as we head towards the final stages of this one here at Townsville. Who will win it today?
Okay, no, it's stopped. Righto, mate. Copy that. Put it back. So, yeah, I assume they've got a problem with the diff, have you? Just confirming. Safety car on track. It's got a massive line in it, man. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it, mate. I think blue knob 4. Don't even get delivery. Blue knob 4. Time for a snack, mate. Fantastic job. 13 to go. I hope we have time. Copy that, my man. Yeah, okay. So you can't get neutral either. You'll have to probably use the clutch to get up on the truck. Maybe we've got a gearbox problem. Make sure it is trip 4. Please make sure it is trip 4.
Welcome back. How do you like your V8 Supercars with a little bit of drama added along the way? Well, we can thank Fabian Coulthard because the Lockwood entry has shut down and Peter's STP safety car has now been activated. Matty Galberto's there in pit lane, so this field has now been bunched. Wing Cup Lowndes.
What a field of are choosing to do, Matty. Here's Lowndes, by the way, making a lunge at turn 11. He tried it on as we're off in the break, and then the crisscross. Check out how close the teammates are on the exit at turn 12. A little panel rub there, and Jamie got him back within 100 metres. And Fabian had a problem with this diff housing in the Lockwood car. Here it is again from onboard Jamie's point of view. Look at that, look at the way he flashed across him, and then he just crossed him out the other side. Not long after this, Fabian's diff drama reared its head again. That's triggered the safety car. This is really interesting now. This just adds some other dimensions into the argument. Save a bit of fuel, look after some tyres, it brings a couple of blokes into the game. 1 or 2 of refreshed fuel and tyres to be able to keep on playing. Larko, there's a lot to play for.
Well, there is, mate. I'll just try and get a bit of a read down here in the Team Vodafone pit on how they're going to manage this. Adrian Burgess, team principal. First of all, mate, I want to ask you, I saw a wisp of that smoke coming out of, I think it was Jamie's car again. Any read there?
I think that was Coulthard's car, mate, and he's parked up.
You're being a little coy. I'll have a look at the numbers here in a minute. These two blokes standing next to you, how's the dynamic between them with the car so close on the track?
They're hard work, but they're team players. They both want to win the race, and we want to win too. You know, it's an important time of year. We've got some momentum. We've got to keep it going. We need both cars first and second. We've got to let them race. They're going to race, but we've got to keep it straight and no trading paint.
Mate, I know you're a pretty cool customer, but I was actually watching you when they were having a little half rubber paint down there, mate, and you're doing the scaife wobble with your knee, mate. So everything's cool?
It's very cool until it turns brown.
We know what he's referring to, but we won't go with it. That is a very stressful situation, and Adrian Burgess there trying to control a very competitive environment between Mark Dutton and Jeremy Moore. And this will work into the hands of Garth Tander, Neil, because he come in much later. He's sort of four laps better off the tyres.
Yeah, so he had a 26-lap window to complete at the end of the race, and his tyre degradation number looks good. He and Lowndes have been looking good. We've been analysing those numbers from the previous stint. You've got them there.
0.054 was Lowndes, Reynolds 0.076, Davison 0.067, Tander,
we should
almost
just
the same.
That's loss per lap in terms of the way the tyre tapers in its lap speed, lap on lap. So we look at those numbers very carefully. Here's the players on board with them all. 3 of the top 5 there, and Tander. And we need more boxes because really it's Whincup, Lowndes, Davison, Winterbottom, Reynolds and Tander. I reckon there's 6 guys in this at the moment.
And the interesting thing is that he's been gifted, Tander's been gifted 10 seconds. He was 10 seconds behind them at that point. He maybe couldn't have run them down under the normal scenario. The safety car's given him the gift.
What he doesn't absolutely have, though, is the cracker killer pace.
Yep.
So, race director Tim Schenken's voice in the background.
I was watching Lowndes and Whincup. As soon as the safety car... This is going to be my point. As soon as the safety car was called, they backed off straight away.
Yeah.
Backed off straight away. They didn't wait for any confirmation. They just whoop straight out of it. So they need every drop.
And they've got a safety car setting on the mixture control on the steering wheel, which is it's the Miser setting.
Hey, I was just having a chat up the other end. Timmy Edwards, Team FPR, just chatting with Adrian Burgess. He's got a headache up there trying to manage his drivers, mate. What's your story? I just see Will Davo. I don't know, is he holding up you guys?
Yeah, well, I got an extra issue. I got 3 drivers that are all want to be up the front. So, yeah, I think, you know, Will's probably quite hasn't got the pace of the other 2, but the reality is they're all very close. The top 8 cars are pumping out the same lap times.
So clearly the way your team structure works, mate, you're just not prepared to say to Will, move aside and let the other guys through.
Absolutely not. Who knows what, but, you know, we'll get to Homebush. That 1 or 2 points at the end of the year might need to go Will's way instead of the other way. So, it's, you know, can't even think about team orders.
And a big, long stint on these soft tyres, mate. Now they're having a little bit of a cure, if you like, a little bit of a cool down. I mean, will you be in a position, you think, to have a crack at those Vodafone cars?
Oh, look, I think if we can stay on their bumper, yeah. I think, you know, we've made some improvements overnight to the car and the guys are a bit happier. So, I mean, time will tell. We've got about another 10 laps time.
Go forward, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Did I say that? Did I say that?
Yeah. Beautiful. Love your work.
Check out that red suit you've got on there. Can't miss you. While David Reynolds was getting a wobbly out there, still under safety car, that's Tim Edwards sticking true to his call that when they came into this race, that it was a race for, they were going to let Winterbottom and Davison race fair. No team orders, have a crack. And he's just admitted also there that perhaps Will isn't as fast as the rest of them, but there's going to be no change, rather, to those orders.
Another thing to bear in mind here, boys, is the old adage of safety car breeds safety car. So now they're all compact. You just got to be a bit careful in how you manage this. And this is where everyone's got the eyes on. They try and put the big move together, and just got to be a little bit careful what comes from this now.
And 10-lap sprint. This is it. This is as wild as it gets. Tell you what, Matty, I'd chuck some money in to get Neil on that bungee thing, wouldn't you? He'd be good out there on that.
No chance.
Here we go. Restart very important, and Lowndes is not letting him get away. Davison's dropped 1 or 2 car lengths before the start.
So around they come. Whincup will lead us off. When he triggers this control line there's 10 laps to go in this race.
Oh, look at the marbles coming off the cars down the straight there. The tyre pickup.
So let's remember, Whincup has won 4 races at this track. He leads the championship. He won here yesterday. They finished 1-2 last year. Lowndes yet to win in Townsville. Will Davison trying to salvage a weekend where he's already dropped a spot in the championship.
I'm a bit surprised that everybody in that next bit of the queue allowed these two guys to get so far away at the start. I mean, that's made it a big job before you even get into this next segment of the race.
100%. You have to go with them. You've got to make your lap as good as theirs. You can't. That gap there, 3 or 4 car lengths, is over now.
Well, that's a 2-lap insurance policy.
Yeah.
Garth Tander's already got by David Reynolds. So Tander moves up to 5th. We said watch out for him.
We're discussing Tander in the break, and despite not quite having the car pace, there's a lot of hustler in there, and he knows how to put together these street circuit victories. There he is in the red car. He's done it before. He's had success here.
I reckon it's a mistake from Reynolds. It is.
Davies out in the weeds.
Big mistake. And Garth was able to capitalise immediately. So this is turn 6, runs wide, out into the dirt. Now watch as Tander straight away around the outside, just turns it across in front and gets it done.
That was heavy from David Reynolds. There's the gap. The important gap's the one between 2nd and 3rd from that restart.
Oh, look at it.
They've let the Vodafone guys scoot away.
Well, we got through the first couple of laps okay without any trauma.
Unless you're David Reynolds.
Yeah, but I half expected there to be some nose-to-tail contact, or someone have a dive down the inside and not make it. Jamie's staying up here in the next couple of weeks for his mid-year break, staying in Queensland for a holiday. He's getting away from the motor racing caper for a little while.
Down the back of the field, Jason Bright. It's mid-pack, not the back, sorry. Jason Bright goes up in a 12th spot ahead of Tim Slade. So the messages coming thick and fast from Mark Dutton and Jeremy Moore to Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes respectively. What has FPR got in the bag? Can they finally pull back onto this little train here? A 2-car train out in front. What has Lowndes got against his teammate? He was furious yesterday after having to double stack in pit lane. He was smiling through gritted teeth at the end of the day, and he would love nothing more than to get his first race win at this circuit and put the disappointment of
Pressing on with it,
Lowndes.
He's using a little bit more road than Jamie at the moment in 1 or 2 critical spots. He's looking for a big run through that chicane to try and sneak down the inside again at 11. It didn't work for him last time. Ended up in a crisscross.
He's using the brakes very hard. When you're behind the car in front, the heat soak from that car affects the water temperature, the brake temperature, the overall car temperature. And look how close. You can't be any closer as you come onto the straight out of turn 13.
No one appears to have a response to these two at the moment. Everyone's tyres are hanging in. Lowndes is throwing everything at this. The margin back to Will is 1.7 seconds, Craig to Will. How close is Tander to Frosty? He doesn't really look like he's threatening at the moment either.
Just hasn't got quite the car pace. In fact, Reynolds has probably got better car pace and can't now get back by GT after that little mistake that he made at turn 6.
Or you're right, if you look at
he had to cover.
Yeah, Lowndes is having a massive go here. Watch him again at 11. He tries to throw it over the curb. He's looking for the speedy exit. He's got the eyes on his teammate at the moment. This is turn 10, the bumps. How much throttle can they carry through here on older tyres?
Look, he's blocking already.
Jamie covers.
Oh, this is lively. I would not like to be Adrian Burgess.
Roland be up the back of the garage, just biting his nails. Can't see him up there around the bunker.
A 6 to go. I was just going to make the point, when you look at the top 6, the only bloke who's got the ability to throw a punch is Craig Lowndes. And we're seeing it right now, down here on the inside inside of turn 2. And Lowndes will get the lead of the race. But Whitcup will go for the crisscross.
He's going to get him too. He's going to actually have position when they get up to turn 3.
Neck and neck, Whitcup gets it back.
Temperature's rising. So, oh dear, contact. They've got to be careful here. Adrian and Roland will not be impressed if these two end up fumbling each other. That's about the limit. Craig lost a bit of ground there.
We're laughing. The only reason we're laughing is because the level of angst amongst these guys. Jeremy Moore on your right, Adrian Burgess in the middle.
Will got a gain. Will Davison got a gain from that. As those two exchanged then, that's allowed the trading post entry to range up.
Which of course is bringing those behind him along as well. So Winterbottom wants to go with Will Davison, because as soon as there's a little mistake from any one of these guys, something like that,
Jamie,
good enough to make a gain.
Couldn't get the thing down where he wanted it on race line then. He's trying to now exceed the grip performance of the tyre, trying to hustle this thing into action. And they've got to be careful. They could still murder these tyres. They're not home yet. They're on the braking limit into 2.
But what's also important, Neil, is that when they race each other, your point was on the last lap, one little exchange has brought Will Davison into play. You can make your two red cars vulnerable to the Fords behind by you racing each other.
Total of 1.4 seconds from the race leader to Will Davison at the moment. And the other thing that happens, as you well know, you get an incentive when you're in the queue. All of a sudden you can feel sniff. Oh, here we go. I'm dragging these blokes back towards me. They'll be at the absolute extent of their rubber at the moment out there. Conditions are ideal. There's a bit of a breeze. There's cloud cover. They've all stretched the performance of the Dunlop soft tyre.
Have a look at the brake glow. Did you see the left-hand front there of Lowndes using the brakes very hard and sideways through 12? That's the little indicator. Just look for the body language of the cars, because that's what you'll see more. Tander now putting pressure on Winterbottom. Let's have a look at the lap times. 13.8, 14 dead, 14.3, 14.5, 14.3, 14.3, 14.4. That's the top 7 cars.
So in the end, it comes down to track position, because they're all doing about the same speed. Tander threatening now on Winterbottom. So this is Lowndes getting cranked sideways at 12. Watch this from behind the car. That's what Mark was talking about a moment ago. Leaves a bit more of that rubber behind.
And even in one lap with not racing, see how they built that gap against Davison. So that's a really good example of what the little battle between teammates does to your overall lap speed.
First to third is actually back out to 2.1 seconds now. It was about 1.5.
I reckon Tander will have a dive at Winterbottom.
He looks pretty serious, doesn't he?
And this might be it, because he's right up in behind. This is where Winterbottom lost the spot yesterday. And there it is. He's down the inside in a very last-minute move. And he doesn't do the crisscross. I thought that he was going to get back there. He got first gear. Did you see Tander then?
Garth slowed it up in the middle of the corner just to make sure that he didn't excite the car too much on exit.
He stuck in first gear to get it done too. Couldn't stop. Big slide. Lowndes out of turn 9. He caught the left-hand rear, caught on the edge of the road and dipped it in the grass, which that would have been a pretty lively moment, going very fast. He's got fantastic car control. Look at this battle.
Further back we go.
That's Johnson.
Yeah, David Ward with the lights on. Wilson security car behind
Fiore,
him. Todd Kelly. That's Taz Douglas there. They're all mixed up down here, and Todd just about turns into
Todd's got a drama in the front left brake rotor there. Abnormally hot, big glow. It looked like there was some debris coming out of there. So, yeah, look at it. There's something caught the wheel.
Whoa!
Monster moment for Webb. That's his teammate, Patrizzi.
This is back end of the top 10. So Jonathan Webb in 8th.
Oh.
And Steve Owens getting a shove along from Jason Bright.
Or wouldn't like to be out there.
Has all the marbles.
Oh, gee, just got away with that.
There's some debris off the racing line at the moment, late in the day. These guys are battling for 10th. Battling for honour to get in the top 10 after a long, hard weekend's work. 0.4 is the gap. Whitcup to Lowndes. It's come back down again. It's tightened up. Lowndes is having another crack.
He's been chipping away, just a 10th here and a 10th there. Like you say, there's now nothing in it. At one stage, it drifted out to about 0.8 of a second.
And it's 3 seconds. 3 seconds from first to third. Mark Dutton saying, bring the rear bar down. That means soften the rear bar. Lowndes understeer there. That was awkward for him at 3. He lost ground. Dutton saying to Whincup, soften the rear bar if you're looking for drive. Try and get the traction he needs to get the car off the corner.
And the danger with that, when you soften the rear bar, it's easier to lock the inside front wheel when you do it. So it softens the back of the car. It makes it less direct when you first turn the car up the corner, and if you lock a wheel or damage a tyre right at the end of this race, it makes you vulnerable to Lowndes. So any change you make, sometimes you're just better off just to drive what you've got. Know what the grip level is and drive it to the absolute limit, which is what Whincup is doing, and clearly Lowndes has done for the last 10 laps in this sprint home. Look at the crowd, last lap. Look at the battle back there with Tander, Winterbottom and Davey Reynolds.
So Will Davison in third position. That's the best he can do on this one, because Whincup and Lowndes will continue this charge for another 2 kilometres, the final lap of a total of 400 Ks for the weekend. There's Tander.
Frosty's battling on those tyres at the moment. Half a lap to go.
Through turns 5 and 6. Lowndes has given this his absolute all.
And I'll tell you what, Whincup's not a bad job, is it? From 9th on the grid, his worst performance in qualifying this year. That's a heck of a comeback.
And we said you can't write him off, because the first race at this circuit, Jamie Whincup won from 9th. He won from 8th last year. He's got the crowd on his feet. So too has Lowndes. They've put in another great effort. Team Vodafone have led the way. Will Davison has staged a great fight back. But our championship leader stays out in front and becomes the first man to clean sweep the Townsville weekend.
Fantastic.
Lowndes second, Will Davison on the podium, and Garth Tander charging home after starting 13th, finishes 4th. The door's wide open, the hand goes up. And another race win. 5th of the season, and 5th at this circuit.
Great reaction and a real battle. That's as strong and as healthy as I've ever seen between teammates with it, Neil. I mean, that was a really full-on battle between teammates there. They've let them race, they bumped, they did everything you could possibly do, and that's the sort of reaction that you have with a win like that.
It was right up to the limit, wasn't it? So that group ecstatic. It's been a huge weekend for them. Great outcome, hard work, and just reward. Well done. 1.8 seconds, the official margin between Whincup and Lowndes at the end. And you're right. I mean, the two of them threw everything at it. Here's the unofficial results. Will Davison hanging on for third. Garth Tander, you've got to pay a dividend for that. That was a terrific performance. Great recovery. I heard that Frosty, Mark Winterbottom, may have had some brake drama late in the race as well. Then David Reynolds. Even the battle in this mid-pack was fantastic. Alex Premer, good performance, 16th, so he's slowly but surely coming to terms with the task.
James Moffat there, the last on the lead lap, so Jacques Villeneuve finishes in 24th, and Jamie Whincup's going to put these tyres to full use.
Meaning never to be used again.
Never to be used ever.
The Queensland Premier will be pretty wrapped today too, Matt. He's been in there, he made the tip before the start. Campbell Newman had the headset on in the garage.
He picked a winner.
Yep.
So yesterday, Whincup was lucky to get back into pit lane with fuel. He'll be lucky to get back with rubber this time.
For sale, 2 used Dunlop tyres.
Only driven on Sundays.
Correct.
Yeah, one owner.
Yeah.
Excellent for making coffee table. Not much else. No, that was a great drive. He should be pretty... the pressure, he would have been feeling it big time, because Craig threw everything. He was shooting at him left, right and centre.
And Lowndes is the hardest one to keep behind. He is tough when it's like that.
Remember yesterday when we talked about that tiny little error that cost Mark Winterbottom? Well, let's go back to that little error of Craig Lowndes grabbing the pit limiter down at turn 11.
Yep.
All of a sudden, his teammate gets to sail on by. And just one of those things.
Very good point.
456 races now for Craig Lowndes, and you back him every time not to make a little one like that. That's just out of the blue. So Whincup comes down to pit lane. Big crowd here, 152,000 this weekend. Congratulations, Townsville. You always have supported this race. More than 500,000 spectators have come through the gate since we first rolled out the pit lane carpet in 2009. And Jamie Whincup, like he's done before here, and he's already done now 5 times this season,
How's the
pulls
smoke?
up at number 1. It extends his championship lead too, so it's 100 points now.
Oh, he hasn't just destroyed the tyres, he's just given the roof a tweak.
I'll tell you what, I don't know how he's got the energy. I mean, that's pure adrenaline, because he had to work really hard for that one. They all have had to. Wasn't as hot today, but it's a tough, long weekend at a brutal circuit. He just skipped up there. And Craig Lowndes waiting for him, so too Will Davison, his good mate. So genuine admiration between these two guys, and they've fought a really good, clean, hard fight. It was.
Well, quite incredible. Just while Jamie's getting his helmet off, Craig Lowndes congratulates him too. Jamie, we spoke when you were on the grid. You're in 9th spot and you're a bit ho-hum. Can I get to the front or not? Boy, that was sensational.
Yeah, as the race played out, things just kept chipping away. And they called me a bit soft after Darwin race 2, so I thought I'll go pretty hard then and give it all I got. And yeah, hey, the rear tyres were pretty shot at the end there, but hey, big thanks to everyone, Team Vodafone. Just fantastic weekend.
Massive effort, Jamie. Congratulations. Well done.
Cheers.
And what a slug out with Craig Lowndes. Lowndesy, that was incredible racing there towards the end. We know you never give up. You do fight all the way. That was a great little race.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. We try to do the same as what we did in Darwin, and really save those brand new set of tyres to the end. But with all that safety car going on and everything else, it sort of buggered up the routine and the method. But really, it's congratulations to Jamie, because he did drive a really hard race. You're right, I wasn't going to give him an inch, but we had a good dice. But it's a credit to the team to get a 1-2. So look, it's fantastic, great weekend, better than stacking like yesterday. But big hello to Levi and Chili at home.
You got very close, Lowndesy. Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And Will Davison was right there all the way through, had the box seat for the Team Vodafone battle. Will, when the boys were jostling, you really got a sniff in those last few laps?
Yeah, I missed a couple of apexes watching that. It was like watching the best seat in the house, like you said. So obviously I was trying to capitalise if they happen to have a bit of a mishap. But listen, I've just got to thank my boys at FPR, all the guys. I've been a bit of a pain this weekend, and probably haven't been at my best, and we had a tough day yesterday, so that was a massive turnaround from yesterday.
Great to see you back on the podium, Will. Well done.
It's great to be back. I enjoyed that race. It was not quite as good as these guys, but I really enjoyed that. It was a great tussle.
Good stuff, mate. Thank you.
Thanks.
He's been suffering the effects of a cold, as you can hear. Yeah. Will Davison, and he's put his hand up there. Look, I've been there with a sore head this weekend, so he'll be glad to see the back end of that. So that's the championship picture now after 15 races of 29. So officially halfway mark's gone. 100 points is the lead for Jamie Whincup. Remember, he came into this event with a 30-odd point lead over Will Davison. So there's been a little bit of a change there. And Craig Lowndes stays in the picture. An event's worth of points behind 298 in 4th. Shane Van Gisbergen holds fire in position 5. And Garth Tander's made up 2 spots to go up into 6th after a very solid weekend for the Toll Holden racer. Time for the podium. They've got up there quickly because they want that trophy.
The 2012 Supergen Townsville 400, our 15th race of the year. Would you please congratulate, in first place for Team Vodafone, Jamie Whincup. In second place, Team Vodafone's Craig Lowndes. And in third place for Ford Performance Racing, Will Davison. Representing our winning team is Michael Young from Team Vodafone. Making the presentations, firstly to third place, Stephen May, the National Fleet Manager of Kenworth. Representing our major sponsor and making the presentation to second place, Ian Glasson, the CEO of Sucrogen. From our magnificent host city, the Mayor of Townsville, Councillor Jenny Hill, presenting to the winning team. And making the presentation to our winner, Jamie Whincup, the member for Townsville, John Hathaway, MP. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2012 Supergen Townsville 400 Race 15 winners.
2 out of 2 for Win Cup this weekend. 57th career win. 5 in 2012 out of 15. And the championship lead. He'll go into a little break that he's going to have for the next week or so with a very big smile. He's done it again on the streets of Townsville. What a great event.